Alright, seeing none, we'll now be going into group breakouts and funding deliberation.
Point of input.
Yes.
What is that about? Because like it's been so long ago.
Why am I in that? I'm gonna be on the charter.
Do you remember how, do you want to speak on this one?
So we'll do. What was your question?
What is a charter revenue?
So UCSA, which is the organization that I represent all of you on and chair, is renewing its charter, and so we need every city across the state to, for a 2/3 vote, pass a resolution approving the new charter. It's really soundproof. It's been advised by legal experts and lawyers and all that good stuff. So it really just takes y'all's vote and good faith in me and Vicky that we know what we're doing, and the fact that we pay lawyers to trust that they know what they're doing. But we can talk about this a little more next Tuesday. Yes, definitely. It was more people here anyways.
Alright, so now we're going to group breakouts. This is for like small groups for delivering on federal requests. While we do this, I will need to write down what we have left. Thank you very much. This is for everything. So the way I structured this because of limited time is I think we would be separate breakouts for SOFA and for the other federal requests. I put it all together. I gave you 20 minutes because you have to talk about. But also please prioritize SOFA if you got to prioritize something. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, considering how much time we spent on other items, how pertinent does everyone do this towards assessing our needs on SOFA, or should we just go into a discussion on it right away? So I feel like oftentimes we have the exact same discussion, the exact same length of the discussion we would have had anyways. Plus this change. So I don't know how people do this, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes.
I think that I don't have the time to go back to call spaces and talk about what they're talk about. I think that's what we talk about. We just deliberate on that. Then we can cut the breakout session.
Okay.
Or so.
As point of reference, well, it's the just on the
Okay.
Point of reference, the reason that we include breakout sessions that we keep on doing is because the idea behind it is so that people can talk less online those breakout sessions. That being said, we can not have until complete lost call. I would need a motion if we gotta cancel that agenda. Yeah, like
Motion to cancel breakout session and move on to the next agenda.
so motion by Link to strike the group breakouts agenda item from the agenda. Second by Regina. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion passes, and we'll be moving directly into the approval of SOFA recommendations. All this information is going to be, for all the funding requests, the information is going to be in the this folder. Eric, you should have access to that folder. Cool. In that this folder, there's an embedded folder, which is how we treat and SOFA. I sent you the approval of information from there, specifically the agenda with what the SOFA recommends. We can go to change, we can go to and then we can discuss. I'll also be taking stack on this.
No.
Is there anybody who'd like to get on stack?
Did you? Should we just start from anywhere in SOFA, or should we start from the top?
Well, we have a set of SOFA recommendations. We can approve this as a whole. We can say, I agree with most of this, but honestly, okay, and then approve that. Yes. So I have Jonathan and then Cameron, and then just also on that. Okay.
Mine is just a quick question. We like actually recommend every single item on the agenda. You can speak up a little bit. You actually like fun, not fun, but like actually put like a value. Like that, before, and we supposed to provide it back yesterday, but I remember the weather conditions where we kind of just skimmed over it.
So I was wondering if there's still, I don't think we should do something that already
Speak on that. Cool. So, my understanding what you're referring to is the two pieces. Is that correct? The by and in the platypus. Right, right. So as is, if we would approve silver as it is, it would mean that we wouldn't fund platypus, we wouldn't fund ISA any additional money, though we are talking about that same event later on, we did fund it last week, and we wouldn't fund AEPI. AEPI, by the way, is going to down species make a funding presentation. So we wouldn't fund, the default is just we wouldn't fund if we would approve as is. Yeah.
So just like a follow up, so when you say that ISA's presentation, by not funding them through SOFA, does that mean that they won't get any funding for what they paid in for presentation, or is it totally different?
It's different. It's different. You can fund them out of social money, out of that cost if you all want to, but because we're talking about them separately, it's not. Yes. Please, I got you. Cameron?
I reserve my right to make a motion. Platypus came in asking for 300, that's not a large amount, and they weren't funded because they're a political organization, or they're a political connection. And I think that's silly because that's the way to inherently a political organization or student union. Taking positions on rent control and various other things. People said that we wouldn't fund something like the Republicans or something like that, or the Dems, and no, we wouldn't because they're both political parties and I think they're both trash, but this is socialism and it's just a magazine about socialism. Like, it's a good cause and we funded them in the past, and I think we should motion to fund them 300 from leftovers.
I motion by Cameron to fund 300 from the leftover social money. Seconded by Emma, was that a second? No. Yes. Any objections to that? Yes, like.
Objection on the ground that I think this requires further conversation, and I would like to remove the rest of SOFA and then have a greater conversation on this activity to kind of cut those two issues apart so we can actually get on the SOFA and then analyze whether SU wants to work this kind of problem.
Thing is that.
Okay, we'll now be moving into discussion of that. Going you can give me that to go on that piece. Connor, you're next on track. By the way, I don't know what's going on with this situation. So I hope you all can just access this and right, Connor?
I just wanted to talk about when I went back to MySpace and talked about the recommendations that we made. There was concern about the Earth Week interns not getting any money, and it was made clear to me that although they are under the CUIP intern and the chancellor's office, none of the money from the chancellor goes to programs like Earth Week. So I thought maybe we could talk about that one again and maybe fund them something, and I could talk more about what was said to me, but I don't know how we want to do that.
I think I looked into that better than I can, so I will do it on that.
Yeah, so the main reason why we didn't want to fund this week was because not only did we have a short budget, we have multiple organizations who are applying, but one of the main factors we consider when funding organizations is who has access to what, and if more organizations have more access to more funds, then usually we will be less likely to fund them. Although they are under the chancellor's office, it's not that the chancellor is necessarily funding them directly, but they do have direct access to ask for those funds and to be able to gain funds from that office. If not the chancellor's office, the CPEC, the Division of Student Success. I also wanted to make a stipulation that, or not stipulation, but kind of just general thing that we do as SUA. Maybe every time we fund organizations, we tell them the different other areas across campus that they can go for funding, depending on the organization. That way we can, or maybe this is something that we just do for ones that we don't fund. That way we can promote them to still look for funding, and we can give them the areas that are. But that's the main. I don't know if that answers your question. It's mainly just because of their access to large amounts of potential.
Okay. I was thinking.
I just wanted to say, like, attention to the fact that, and ISA is asking for 8,000, for their event that they presented about at the last meeting, and that, given how much we have on the program, it's important that we try to allocate as much as the leftover in SOFA towards that to minimize the amount of money that we can take out of that program before, because it is going to cost that, regardless of how much, what we decide to do with the project needed society.
Go.
In regards to our funding of boards or items based off of accessibility to funding, I just think it's interesting that we fully funded, I think, Sludge Alex for 4,000, which is part of which I know is an org that's out of the Basque School of Engineering, which has a lot of accessibility to funding and on a larger scale, like funding from to their academic programs and UC in general. While we only partially funded multiple student publications, this doesn't have to do with funding.
So you said select products, correct? So
I think that's
it has 515. I was coming back and you have to ask.
Oh,
Are you thinking of something else?
oh yeah, it was the 4. Maybe I was
Computing machinery stuff.
yeah, but it says that it says fund 1,700, so maybe I just read it wrong.
Okay.
But regardless, like I know that these should also be considered based off of the percentage of funding, but I think that beyond concerns of percentage, it's worth noting that a lot of student publications are requesting very small amount of funding compared to some of these bigger orgs that are based out of the School of Engineering, and they're getting funded proportionally in relation to some of these bigger orgs, which ends up being far less funding.
So I noticed that we talked about the English of funding. I noticed that a lot of the more engineering stuff aren't easily funded. And I realized that the rationale is because greater access to funding, but I want to know what this access to funding is. Because I've spoken to people specifically in my degree, they've been constantly trying to asking for engineering funds. They're asking engineering just never responds to them. And they're not even he's going to work for a career asking, never heard asking for graduate decisions are living with these other resources of funding are he's asking. It's just again risk for the set up, so you can ask them, but they're still not responding to organizations.
Does anyone respond to that?
Yeah. Again, one of the things that we look at is access, and one of the criteria in terms of a lot of the organizations that are majority engineering or robotics or stuff that has to do with that can get grants from various amounts of places across campus, not only from the Division of Student Success and within the Dean of Students office, but they can also apply for grants. I know CruiseHacks usually annually applies for grants from Google, from Microsoft to host entrepreneurship awards and to get prizes. Also, we have a pipeline with Silicon Valley, and that is all about getting students more involved with the Palo Alto, whoever is interested in that, and pipelining a kind of like I don't know, some kind of relationship between them and UC Santa Cruz. So I know this campus has been emphasizing on that Silicon Valley connection as well. It really just has to do with access. Ethnic and identity organizations usually don't have as much access to funds as these centered engineering research do. And the campus did raise about $360 million last year from a whole I think it was a 5-year fundraiser. But a lot of those funds and a lot of those grants are going specifically to research. I think it's weird that Jay Baskin and some other places aren't responding, and I would say whoever is not responding or whoever's not getting that communication, to let's set up some kind of meeting and talk with those deans of those J Basket places and talk to them about why they're not responding and how we can better their communication between them and students.
Yeah, we are out of time on this agenda item. I believe people on staff. Yes, can we just motion to extend time by 5 minutes on this agenda item, second by Regina. Are there any objections? I see none. Can you also write down with the total, so for the current sample recommendations, how much of this money is being used? Thank you very much. Next I have one.
Yeah, I think there's merit behind judging how much funding a group could get based on their accessibility to funding, but I don't think it should be as large of a factor. I think if a group is coming in asking for funding, then there's a large chance that they've already gone to their other sources and not been able to find that. These are all student groups that are run by students trying to put on events for students. And while I understand we need some type of criteria to help narrow that down, I think there are some groups that, you know, if they're trying to put on a really nice event for students and they just can't get all the funding from the places that they need funding, that they could probably get funding from, then I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Can I call a question to commit 1,800 from something to 300 for Platypus? Can I do that motion?
You did make that motion. Yes. Can you repeat the?
Yeah, I motion to commit, we have $1,800 left in SOFA. I want to commit $300 of that to Platypus.
Okay, where are you getting that 1,800? I see. Thank you very much. Okay. So I motion to call the question on the motion to complete on this table, which is $300 to fund the Platypus. Is there a second? Second by Sol. Motion made by Cameron, second by Sol. Are there any objections to call the question? No. Later, response to the question is, do you want to state the objection?
The same objection made before, I think you could be in the spot. I think what would be more prudent is to try to approve the silver budget and then allocate the entire remaining silver budget, and have Platypus come in so we can discuss that as a separate issue and just deal with over that.
Okay. All those in favor of calling the question. This, by the way, does not mean that we're going to talk about silver. I have 14 in favor. How many opposed? 3 opposed. The motion passes. So now we're moving into a vote for whether or not to fund this $300. And that just requires a simple majority. All those in favor of funding this 300. $15 in favor. How many opposed? 2 opposed. We are funding this $300 out of the SOFA funds. Yes, you want to get us that? Yeah.
I was wondering, was that motion?
It was.
Just not had discussion with something else.
So what happened is that I just received the status, right? So we didn't have to open the status. People didn't follow that person, but because we came up with the table, we called the question on it. And then we voted on it because it was already on the table. And then because call question is not available, and then we approved it, which means we discuss it anymore. That's how that happened. But if you feel,
I thought that we just didn't discuss it, and then, the idea of an objection is to discuss it amongst the space, so that we can come up with like consensus, and then motion, but like, we objected, and then it was unclear what we were doing, and then we started talking about, so it looked like we were agreeing with what the objection was stated, but then we just jumped straight into the final order, so how would it?
yeah, so I was the confusion on that. The main topic was the opportunity to talk about that. And I'm sorry if that was unclear, and I will make sure that it's more clear in the future, but because we've already approved that motion, we can't go back and undo that. Okay, so I'll be more clear in the future. Yes, please.
Oh, I just wanted to understand.
Okay, I'll be happy on that.
Oh, perfect. I didn't really care about this.
So,
So the same, is that, engineering parts have other companies that live on our they would support the idea that we have to do the event, people coming in and these companies that come with employees there. However, these clubs don't always do big events, all the time, these small jobs, that's a lot of education. Sometimes it's like a salary workshop, and Google is not doing they expect us to all remember, but the reality is that you don't remember the options unless you really prosper. And then after that, you don't have access to the options. So, just going back to another speaker said about maybe not seeing where sources they have some things that are going to roll it. I would like to echo that because a lot of the time these are smaller. Many of the smaller events that may not attract the biggest energy, but they're very helpful.
we are out of time, so then I have one person. Yes, Motion to extend time by 1 minute, if I just second by Lisa, any objections? Like, seeing none, Luke?
I'll make this part as quick as possible. While I agree that this is not perfect funding, as many previous speakers have said, this is the best allocation of limited funds that we could provide in our means to benefit the student body. And while a previous speaker did comments that many of these clubs depend on these funds, we strictly funded based on what the clubs were asking for the event. So I think to the extent that we can claim that this is good funding, I think it's the best funding possible that we could have done with the limited funding we get. On that, I motion to approve SOFA's funding and move the remaining with SOFA money into our programming budget.
Okay. So I have a two-part motion made by Clayton. First of all, is there a second to that motion? Second by Natasha. So two-part motion made by Clayton. One is to adopt the recommendations as they currently are according to the SOFA agenda document. Just so you know, we are approving all of these in full, and then we're not going to be able to go back and undo that or change that. We can boost more if we wanted to, but we can't ever boost less. And then the other part of that motion was to put the remainder of SOFA money, which is going to be 1,500 updated from the 800 off of for platypus into a SUA program.
Point of information.
Yes.
I'm just checking just to make sure that all the numbers are correct. In the green instances that I told you, was funded 200, which means that eventually it wasn't taken out of the pool, which is also left. So I will go back and make sure the numbers are correct, but I'm just going to change that to the full 700, and then I'm going to change the final number from 1,498 to whatever that is minus $500, which I can use like 900 and
Does that make sense to everybody what just happened? Okay. There's a second by Natasha. Are there any objections to that motion? So approving all of these sub recommendations and moving about $1,000 into program. Seeing no objections, the motion passes. And we remove these sub recommendations. Now we're moving on to the rest of our recommendations. Yeah, we wanted to apply for that. Next we'll be moving into the basic life support / reading control for UCSC students. Also, thank you all for bearing with me during this long meeting and for staying here. Like when I say here, meeting also thank you all. I really appreciate it. So this is going to be also in last week's folder. Let me pull up there. They have.
I know I did. I would have used you last
Sorry about that. Okay. This is their presentation. Any discussion regarding this presentation made by representatives from PMS and the Yes.
I think we should try our best to come, even though we're kind of running low on funds. I think it's important that we keep this sub alive for next quarter, and then hopefully they get funded by SOFA, and then they can continue to do their stuff, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. They've shown great commitment, like I said, it came in last spring, and they're still here a year later, so I really respect it. And they've gotten better and better every time, like they're really on their game about like answer questions everything. So yeah.
Okay. Yes, with you.
I was also put it super important to tell them because I know personally the reason I haven't gotten certified is because of the cost and the fact that there's options for free is really awesome. I'm looking forward to taking it, and I know the cost is like a burden on other students. So I think it's super cool.
So I understand like 2 certified EMTs. I have, BLS, CPR cert, all of this has been in my life for a while, and I really believe in the mission of this student organization. I know that there may be a few concerns out there, and I know that one that keeps getting brought up in these meetings is access to funds. So because I've been interested in this group, I've been following what they've been doing, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we have reached out to administrative departments before, like risk services, specifically the Office of Emergency Services, to try to get additional funding to support their endeavors and to support these activities, but they have been allocated $0 for those purposes. And the logic behind it is just effective resources. So they have tried to make use of any access to the administration that they have to try to get funds. So the SUA becomes one of their probably best bets. And I'd just like to ask that everybody keep that in mind.
Yes, Bella.
Speaking from like a STEM major as well as like pre-med, these classes are really important. I got my basic life support or BLS certification when I took my CNA class, which is $2,500. And that certification was included in that. But if I were to have it for free, I wouldn't have to take that class with the CNA class that I did take. And then also I would have been able to apply for other jobs that didn't require certification and just said like, say that I have that BLS certification, which makes me more likely to get jobs. So it's actually like really great for also career-wise and for pre-med students. So.
Just to be clear, when you say BLS, that's basic life support?
Yeah, BLS, basic life support, and then bleeding control course. Some courses, this is a little like cloudy to me. They've done a lot of their research, so I'm gonna trust their word. But like sometimes you can get the bleeding control course with your basic life support. So sometimes like Like for me, I got my BLS with my AED, and AED is just the machine that shocks. Yeah, that one. Give you a little sound effect, but that is AED, and the AED and basic life support usually come together. And then sometimes bleeding control too, but bleeding control is always great to do as well with additions. So like if we were only to give like some for basic life support, it would be a loss for being able to do bleeding control because a lot of times that course also costs a lot more money too.
Anybody else want to get on
I love and respect everything that everyone has said about how this is important and valuable and good for students, with cost restraint issues and also just in general. It's almost $7,000, and we have another $8,000, right, for ISA, on the docket, and I am looking at this budget and just kind of cringing, or the amount of money that we have is just not. It's not. We can't fund everything with the amount of value that we see it having. And that's like the hardest part about this is that no matter what we do, we'll never be able to fund every organization with the merit to receive the funds that we think they should receive to that exact same extent. So like we'll never be able to give everybody the money they deserve. And I don't know how to rectify that. But I think that kind of comes from like a give and take for all organizations. So what do we see as most important in this versus others? And I know that we're not supposed to necessarily consider other funding requests while we're considering one. I would say that this is something that is something I would be more in support of giving a higher ratio of money to than maybe something that was more of a recreational activity, although those are important as well. So that's my input. But yeah, sad lack of money.
Yeah, also, I was like, put up the amount that she was requesting before the meeting. I think that would be what you all have. So if somebody else can talk about it, even if this is I can get on that. Yeah.
Motion for a 3-minute recess.
Those are the things we like job this and that's that. Seeing as obviously as possible.
You didn't eat dinner?
This is a recess?
What?
Recess?
Yeah, we're recess. Stop spraying things about my head. I just came on. I'm sorry.
No, it's that guy.
With like, hey, don't eat that, there's multiple. But I'm also like,
What?
That's an old picture. You want to go see him right now? We can walk into
I'm out here.
Wait, actually,
it wasn't open or anything.
You gotta. I don't want to. Why not? How does it weird? Has she done anything with you?
Yeah, I don't think so.
How?
But I just want to see it. Did you eat free chocolate?
We're on a recess. There we go.
Thank you.
Not saying.
We have 20 people, requirements 22.
I think Emma's coming back because her stuff is still here. Oh, Emma's right here.
Right here. Oh, I see you both. Okay, so we can call some people real quick.
Where's it going?
Yeah.
Apparently 2,000.
Yeah, they just bounced.
Yeah, but it is 20.
There we go. Quick.
I think it's best if you want to just call it. I mean, we can have a conversation, but it's not gonna be an official anyway.
I'm on that list now.
Yeah. Technically, we're not. Technically, we're not even speaking on that because we'll have. Honestly, bring in.
Alright.
Thank you all.
Okay, so we have a few options right now. One, y'all can go home. Two, we can talk about this stuff in hopes of expediting conversation about it next week. However, not everyone is here, hence not having forum. So y'all's call. Thanks, Josh. You want to speak on it?
Okay, what if we just table anything that might require a vote, and if there's anything left on the agenda that's just talking, then we can just get rid of
This
it?
is it. This is all that's on the agenda. We
Oh.
have 20 minutes left on the agenda.
Guys, we need funding this week, and then I don't know about the rest.
I'll take you.
I think in order to make sure we have like add these to the next agenda, we at least need to have a conversation or like at least estimate how much we want to like give to each organization so that we can like then like just briefly talk about it and go on it.
Yeah, and support what the previous speakers have said, I think that we non-binding, but non-binding votes, and then next week we can ask SUA to adopt those votes without debate. People weren't here. Stating that debate.
Yeah. There's a third option, which is we could call an additional emergency meeting between now and next Tuesday. That's a third option. With no further comments, we just go into like an informal discussion about this stuff real quick. That's kind of the sense of the room that I get. If y'all, we don't need form anymore, so if y'all need to like catch your bus and need to get some food real quick, like I told you, this meeting is about. That being said, I'd love to hear your perspectives. Yeah.
I just want to say, like, if there's anything like, if so, I have a car, so that's also another thing.
Okay. Alright, cool. So let's start with this. These are BLS's basic life support. TWO's third world liberation. Okay. And BLS went out of time. So if people want to keep on talking about that, we're not voting, so just give me some thumbs. Or if people want to move on to the next one. This is move on to the next one. This is keep talking about it.
Point of inquiry, if we don't keep talking about it, it will be moved to next week's agenda.
All of this is on next week's agenda anyways. Yes, thanks for your input. I just see positive thumbs. So additional ideas? Yes. Yes.
I'd like to make a non-binding motion that we suggest to SUA next week to fund basic life support 2/3 of its request, which would be $4,533, and that considers the importance of this cause and our budgetary limitations.
Yeah, Joshua.
I know, like, we don't have the budget to do it just because we don't really do much budget. budget. So like what we can do is fund, as the previous speaker said, some amount, and then since this is a very important like program, we can issue like a statement or something saying like, yeah, we do not have fun, but we fully support this program for years to come, alongside with like the school supporting this or like other like I think what other organization that's allowed to give fund to
SFAC.
SFAC? Yeah. So like that would be a good idea too.
Yeah, Lauren, do you have?
Yeah, I non-bindingly second, David's motion.
Yeah, I a little bit, non-bindingly object to that motion. My biggest concern is that right now in the program we have about $14,000, which is fine. Given that we've only used about 10,000 from fall quarter, and this is the middle of winter quarter, so we're pretty good on track. I would say, ideally, if you take 3/4 of 24,000 and break into 3, that's about 8,000. I would say we should have at least like about 9,000 or so, or 8,000 or so, going into spring quarter. So just be aware that we still have organizations asking for funds. Next week, we had organizations this week ask for funds that we're going to be deliberating next week, and we're going to have organizations ask next week that we're going to be deliberating the week after. So we have a lot to deliver, and I don't think that basic life support is the most urgent thing. Unfortunately, SUA has historically not funded them for multiple reasons, and the main reason is just that we do not have the capacity to fund them, and I don't think that should be our priority, but I do think that we should give a statement of support, and I do think that we can give maybe not more than 1,000 to basic life support. I do support that we fund Third World Liberation and West Fest, since those are the two that usually need it. For now, I have no comments on home.
Quick points. If you want to say that number is for the 14,000 numbers for the whole year. Cool. Just to clarify, and we did fund EMS for a different thing for CPR last year in SUA, a similar amount of about $6,000. But I leave before that now. I would say Gina.
Yeah, I think that because we got it mostly these requests, at least like only think about allocating at like half of what we have left, because we do need to be fair to the organizations that will be coming in the future for winter quarter. So sadly, I do agree with the speaker in that the amount suggested is a little too much. Yeah, I think maybe between 1,000 and 2,000
So we funded 6,000 in CPR last year, not the deal.
I was just gonna say that I feel like if any of these requests, like we would most funding, it would be BLS. And while I think that like recreational, that's where students are super duper important, I feel like doing a lot of classes like this, they're usually not free or not accessible to most students is more important than putting on recreational events. So yeah, that's like my 2 cents. But I just think that if we're gonna be like funded the most, it should be for BLS and not for events like that. It's much better than events.
Yeah, just to speak on last year, part of the reason we didn't fund them is because they were asking for, I think at one point, like $40,000, which we just did not have. And at one point 60, and we talked them down to 40 and it whatnot, but it wasn't necessarily because we didn't. I guess my point is I support funding them. I don't support funding them fully because I definitely do not think we have the capacity to, especially with, just looking at the board right now of the events we have already here, requesting funding plus all of next quarter and the remainder of this quarter. And so I think I would support funding them. I like David's motion. I would also support funding them about half of what they asked for because I do like this initiative. I just think it's important to keep in mind there are cultural events and ethnic events and whatnot that a lot of other students could hit a wider base.
I've had a lot of similar stuff. Great, y'all talk about this and others talk about
Yeah, I just wanted to say that maybe because I think the Third World Liberation Front and and I don't know about Westfest, but events that are coming up, that we propose in the next meeting, as part of the agenda item, just like propose that this body says that we should suspend the bylaws to fund those events, like at the time of deliberation, or instead of waiting a full another week.
We would fund it anyways. Because
Directly.
we got it last week. So we would
Okay, so we won't need to.
Point of inquiry.
Yeah,
Is there a time on this agenda item, or are we just gonna talk?
we're no longer in, an additional meeting. So I can keep you on voice of time if y'all want that. But I've just been kind of late now. David? Also feel free to go more.
And myself, since like I can do that now. To recommend for next week that we do 2,500. And that's because I do agree that we have to be conscientious of how much money we have. I also think this is extremely for cause and also career skills and campus safety. That being said, if people are willing to go along with this like normal thing, I'd ask that we go ahead and vote on whether we're to recommend that number next week. So.
Don't have the money anymore, like, we gotta keep the organization alive so that they can exist still, like, don't worry about future funding, because there's not as many activities that happen in spring anyways. People that request for summer usually request for next year's budget, so that's not an issue. Like, just they've been putting this stuff for a year, like, don't let them die out. Like, all the identity organizations are super important, and I get that, but this is like people's life and death situation. You could potentially be like, in the future, saving someone's life. This is like huge. Like, yeah.
I just want to put it out there that another alternative that we could do is I can just convene finance board this Friday for an hour in the SUA office, probably from like 4 to 5. Talk about these funding decisions, and for finance board to give out some kind of recommendation to the SUA. I just want to do a quick straw poll. How many of y'all would be interested in coming out on Friday for about an hour to deliberate on this? Can you raise your hand? 1.5, 2.5.
Wait, when would it be?
Friday.
What hour?
I mean, we could change the time. Right now 4. We could do 5. We could do 6.
Because I work for 4.
Thursday. Yeah. I mean, how many of y'all would be interested in talking about this separately in finance board in general? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I do want to clarify that you can't take decisions in finance board on this, but it would be able to then discuss it in the expedite.
Yes, exactly.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just want to, I think we're going to feel us and potential safety-wise. This past week, the student reporter died of an overdose. That's what I knew.
So I am going to ask if you're going to talk about that something you include a trigger warning before then. But so trigger warning.
I just want to make note that as long as, this event may, funding it less may mean that, they're able to reach a smaller group of students. And I just wanted to know that, or to acknowledge that as long as there are, as long as nobody from who's trained through this program can save a life, there's you just know that it's a good program. But the second that somebody's afforded that opportunity through this, that somebody whose life is saved is afforded that opportunity through our funding, we recognize it in a different way. It's just worth noting that, if somebody, if this were to have reached an even wider audience of students that somebody within there,
with this product training in order to provide. But in addition, I also think it's important in that West West needs
I'd just like to get like a general feel on this, but I'm feeling some personal frustration. We keep on losing quorum. And just I'd ask people to think about and send emails on this, but is there a way that we can like work towards having people stay in the room? Because I think that we have a mechanism for ending the meeting, and that's called adjourning. And in the meantime, I don't feel like it's fair to ask us to each one between our responsibility to stay and keep the money going, and also our like personal needs. And there's all sorts of ways to work around this. You can get excused beforehand, you can get excused during the meeting, but it's not fair to just have this conversation.
I would like to touch on the previous speaker, that like understand that what we're doing here is very important, but the fact that none of us here is getting paid except for the officer is a lot of like putting a lot of responsibility, and a lot of people here is because they're interested, but you cannot, well, the thing is like, what I'm saying is like, there's 2 points. Number one, like, understand we're here, but it's mostly because we're interested, and there's people with like other reasons and stuff. Like I have an RA whatever tomorrow, and like I choose to stay, but some people can't. So we cannot say like, oh, maybe you should like be more responsible, because they are having a lot of responsibility in a way. And number 2 is that like, that's maybe something we work in vision committee. Like I just don't feel comfortable like pointing out now saying like, oh, people are not responsible by leaving. So that's just my point.
We can address this as an SUA next week. I can see everyone's tired. It's 10:45. It's getting really late. I would advise that somebody motions to adjourn, and that we continue this conversation next week. Also, Vision Committee, I think it'd be good if we start thinking about whether maybe it's the idea of starting a conduct committee, or maybe it's just implementing some rules on, just leaving or not. I think it'd be good if we start having that conversation in there.
So, as chair of Vision Committee, and Stephen can step in as well, I find that there are a lot of things that we would like to do. One of them being the amendment that we're going to propose next week about parliamentary procedure. Another being time restraints on the SUA meetings, which I think is really important. It kind of addresses this so that people don't feel like they have to leave mid-meeting and therefore lose quorum. If we know that the meeting is going to stop at a certain time, we know that we can just like commit to that being the case, and there be like rules to like make sure that that happens. Because it isn't fair, because we're here for God knows how long, and agenda items take way longer than they should, and it's not fair to us. And in addition, something else we are looking at is, wanting to pay elected representatives, and that like causes some issues, because like, are we paying appointed representatives? Are we only paying elected representatives? And these are all things that I want to talk about. I'm trying to keep our vision committee meetings to an hour a week, because I don't want to infringe on people's time if they are committing to the space. But if y'all have issues or questions or concerns, please email me, and I will try my best to get them in to the meetings. Come if you can. They're Monday nights from 6:10 to 7:10 p.m. in the SUA building. I'm on the 3rd floor. Please, we really need input, and if we have more people, we'll actually be able to do kind of breakout smaller committees, and then people can actually work faster because we're working on more than one thing per meeting. which is how it's been going. So, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, David, do you have something?
I've been motion.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night. I really appreciate you all and I'm sorry that that is important.
So, I don't know if you talked about this, but we had like a lot of meetings.
Right.
Yeah.